How about a little CG shut piece on a Saturday afternoon at Kauffman Stadium? The Royals beat the Seattle Mariners 5-0. What's up, you guys? This is the KCSN Live Royals post-game show. I'm Joel Penfield out here at Kauffman Stadium. Nick Springer hopping out from behind the camera for me today. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well. Yeah, it was crazy. Obviously this was just after 3:10 first pitch game. So I was like, okay, we'll be doing this around maybe 6:30 or so. Figure it'll go, a little while. And we're in the eighth inning, like not even 2 hours into the game because Steven Kolek was just getting outs left and right. And, the craziest part about it is I'm sure I'd love to hear your thoughts on it too, but it's like, we're in the eighth inning and the guy doesn't even have a strikeout yet. And yet he still is throwing a complete game, ends up being a complete game shutout. I think he got 2 strikeouts late in the game, but it was just not only was it a complete game shutout, it was probably one of the rarer ones you would see, I would think.
Yeah, there's an account out there somewhere on Twitter that does like the scoregami thing for the NFL. They go and find unique pitching lines. I'm going to go and search that. And if anybody listening to this or watching this right now live has the ability to go and check out that Twitter account and see if it's there yet, let us know, because I would imagine a 9-inning 4-hit, no runs, obviously complete game shutout, 1 walk and 2 strikeouts. That feels like it would be. That also feels like it would be a sinker baller line from 1976 when it was a shame if you had to go to the bullpen and you threw that game. But I mean, that's where you have to start this thing. And the offense did their job, and we'll talk about that later, I assume. But Steven Kolek is the story of this game. And he really has been, since he's come over to Kansas City, been awesome. And it is a very throwback sort of profile in that he's going to sink it, he's going to cut it, he's going to move it all over the place, and he's going to induce a lot of early and weak contact. He's going to be efficient. He's going to get you through 6 at least and keep you in the ball game, give you a chance to win. Really, outside of that 2-inning blip in Chicago 2 starts ago where he gives up 5 in 1 inning and it just the outing unraveled on him, this is what he's done, is get you and give you a quality start in 8 of 9 appearances in Kansas City as a starter. If it wasn't already basically official, Steven Kolek should not go back to Omaha. Steven Kolek is going to be a part of this rotation in some capacity as we go forward. 6-man rotation, they bump someone out. I don't care what the case is, but there is zero reason for Steven Kolek to not be pitching in Kansas City, at least for the foreseeable future. The guy has been nothing short of awesome pretty much since he came over in the trade from San Diego.
Yeah, he's been so impressive. And think about it, it was kind of right. The Royals needed it desperately with some of the injuries they were dealing with in the starting rotation for him to step in and do what he's done. That's the other thing. It's very much been needed because of what they were dealing with sort of the top of the rotation. And so, incredible stuff. Obviously today was, such an interesting game in the way it unfolded, and just the sense that, he was really, really efficient. He wasn't getting a lot of strikeouts, but he was still inducing all those outs and was just churning through the lineup, right? And the Mariners didn't really seem to have him figured out at all the whole game, which is crazy. And so that's the other thing is this is obviously not a fluke, right? I mean, this is who he can be this year, basically. I think there's enough of a sample size on him that if there was going to be a giant overcorrection the other way when teams maybe figured him out a little bit, it would have already happened. But the fact that he has still continued to be really this good, and into the case of today, this dominant for the whole game is pretty remarkable. And it was impressive to watch. It was fun to watch it, which obviously the Royals have not been fun to watch lately. And so really, really good stuff from him. And again, desperately needed, not just today, but since he stepped in, which has been so impressive. Yeah.
And there's going to be outings for him, just with the way he pitches, that are going to get away from him because some of the batted ball luck, some of those, those 2 hoppers that go right to Bobby Witt Jr., those infield, some of those line drives that are right to Kyle Isbell in the outfield, those will drop and those will be runs, and that sort of stuff happens. But the efficiency to me is the thing that is always going to be there. And if that's the case, then even on his bad outings, he's still probably going to get you through 5 innings and with maybe 3 to 4 runs. And even then, you still most likely have a chance to win that game more often than not. So he's going to put the Royals in a position to succeed every 5th, 6th day, however they decide to do it. And I'm so happy that they gave him the opportunity to go out for that 9th inning. He was at 96 pitches. The way that Q talked about it post-game was he was already on an extra day of rest. He's going to have an extra day of rest based on the off days coming up. So it all made sense. And in a 5-run game, you're going to give him that opportunity. If it was 2-0, people may not have liked it, but they were going to go to Lucas Ursay. They were going to go for the save. They were going to go to their lockdown closer and move forward. So game, time, score, situation all worked out perfectly for Stephen Kolek to go out in that 9th inning. They had Ursig warming, but it wasn't a situation where one batter and it was out. I mean, it was, again, a 5-0 game. Colt Emerson put up a pretty long at bat against him to begin the 9th, but he ends up getting the strikeout, and then 2 quick outs of Julio and J.P. Crawford, and there's your ball game. And the only guy that had any success against him was Luke Raley. Of the 4 hits that the Mariners had today, Luke Raley had 3 of them. Like he gave up back-to-back hits to Raley and Cole Young in the 2nd inning, and Young gets cut down, or Raley got cut down on the 3-2-5 double play, which was super unique. Vinny, who was a can zone, hits the ball right to the line, and he tags the bag. So it was going to be a tag play either at second or home. He goes home to get Raley, and that got out of the inning. That was really the only threat until it was that 8th inning when he got his first strikeout. And that was huge because you had runner on third with less than 2 outs. And in that spot, you're looking for a strikeout, because any ball in play, you're up 5-0. So the infield's back. You're basically conceding a run on a ball in play. And he ends up getting the strikeout there, which was his first of the game at that point. So what a perfect time for it. And then he ends up getting a fly out of Pareda. And that was the only other threat. The Mariners only left 2 guys on base. That was it. It was Cole Young, and it was Raley there in the 9th inning with the runner on third with 1 out. So there was really not a lot of traffic. It was just early count outs. He did such a great job of working around the edges in the shadow of the zone, inducing a lot of early weak contact. Had some batted ball luck in his favor, some great defensive plays behind him. Bobby made a great charging kind of jump throw. Vinny got a super tough hop off. One hopped, and then the second hop took some crazy top spin, and he ends up picking it up here, ends up getting the unassisted. Kyle Isbell nearly made a great play on a ball in the gap, but kept the defense going, kept the defense engaged. And I think there's a certain extra level of engagement that the defense needs when you have Stephen Kolek on the mound, because he's not going to strike the dudes out. You're going to get some balls in play. But with this defense, especially the infield defense behind him, when it's Michael, it's Bobby, it's Massey, and it's Vinny. It's one of the best defensive infields in the league. And you're a ground ball pitcher. I think he had 11 ground ball outs. You're gonna get through, and you're gonna get a lot of zeros because you're not gonna have a lot of errors. You're not gonna get a lot of runners unless there's some batted ball variance that doesn't go your way.
Yeah, I feel like in the past, I guess you mentioned the circumstances, but I feel like Q maybe in the past wouldn't have always let him go back out for the 9th, but given the circumstances, it worked out.
Very dependent, because there was another game earlier this year where Michael Wacha had a shutout into the 8th inning, but it was a 2-0 game. So in that point, it's like, hey, yes, we would love to send Wacha back out, but the pitch count was around the same spot in the upper 90s. And it was going to be, I believe, the top of the order or the middle of the order coming up for the White Sox in a 2-run game. So at that point, you go to your closer. Like most teams do that. Like in a bygone era, certainly they're going to get the opportunity. But at that point, then, if he goes back out in a 2-0 game as opposed to a 5-0 game and a couple guys get on, then you got a hairy situation for your bullpen to come into. So little different circumstance. I think, and Q said it himself, like if it was a save situation, 3 runs or less, probably going to go to the bullpen there. But with it being 5-0 and it was the bottom to the top of the order, it was a perfect circumstance for Stephen Kolek to go and do it. It was the first Royals complete game shutout since 2020 when Brad Keller did it at the end of September against the Pirates, is what they said. That's actually the second complete game shutout of Stephen Kolek's career as well. I was wondering if it was his first, but he had one in San Diego as well against the Rockies. So he's really good at working into these games, and he's a perfect mid-rotation, innings-eating ground ball pitcher. It fits the profile of a guy that's going to spend a lot of time in the big leagues. If Kansas City or otherwise, he's probably going to be pitching into his mid to late 30s because He doesn't rely on strikeouts. There's not like it's not like he's throwing 97. He's 92 and just works it around the zone. He has 3 different fastballs he can deploy at any time that move in all different directions. It's a recipe for success at the big league level, and a guy that I imagine is going to end up throwing about probably 130 innings for this team the rest of the way. And we'll see how things go. And I'll say this before we talk about the offense and hit a break. It's, the team is 10, 11 games below 500, like 10 games below 500 at this point. So I'm not trying to sunshine pump here and act like, oh, this is where the season turns around. But if you have like the circumstances of a game like this, where George Kirby's been one of the best pitchers in the league for, the last 2 to 3 years, and you have Stephen Kolek go out there and shut down this offense, give you a complete game shutout, give you a boost, like those circumstances kind of all together, if there was a game that maybe could help turn this thing, this would be it. So we'll see how it ends up. You got a chance to go and win the series tomorrow, for a day game against Brian Woo's going to be pitching on Sunday, who the Royals blitzed in Seattle earlier and gave up, scored 6 runs against him. So they've seen him and they've seen him well already. Let's see if this can be a turning point, if they're able to actually turn this into some momentum. They haven't been able to do it before. We'll see. But I think the circumstances of today, having a guy go throw a complete game in 2026, which just doesn't happen anymore, maybe there's more to it than just simply a win.
Yeah, it definitely feels like they need to take advantage of this opportunity to sort of snowball a little bit and maybe rack up a few wins. But the problem is, after you finish up the series against the Mariners, you got the Yankees coming to town, which is obviously not going to be an easy series. But yes, you would like to see them sort of stack some wins together after a performance like this, because where you're at right now, down 10 games below 500, like you're probably not going to get very many more opportunities to sort of use this to catapult yourself into 3, 4, 5 wins, right? And so this would be a great chance to do that, because you obviously had the excellent pitching performance from Stephen Kolek. We haven't touched on it yet, but the offense also did better than what it's been doing, which is good.
Yeah, certainly. It's a low bar to clear, but yes.
Right. So, but yes, I do think if you start to sort of expand the conversation beyond like winning today, this feels like kind of what you're mentioning, an opportunity where this could snowball a little bit, hopefully, where you are able to pick up a few more wins, because we've talked about this before, but the American League stinks, like just pretty much across the board.
Out loud. Stinks out loud.
Like if you're the Royals, if you have one good week, right, where you win maybe 4 or 5 games, you're suddenly right back in the conversation of like, a playoff picture and all that stuff, which it sounds kind of crazy to say considering, how much they've struggled to start this season, but that's kind of where things are at. So maybe this is the start of that, right? Where you're able to dust yourselves off after a losing streak. You have a chance to go, win the series against the Mariners, and then, maybe try to beat a good Yankees team, and that'll hopefully boost your confidence even more to where you can get some things going. But as you mentioned, the Royals have had some of these chances previously this season and maybe haven't fully taken advantage of them or haven't fully capitalized on that momentum. But another chance potentially after a day like today, where hopefully everyone's feeling really good in that clubhouse, slapping Stephen Kolek on the back. And then also the offense was able to get going a little bit, comparatively speaking to what they've been doing. So that's huge. And then now can you just roll that forward a little bit and maybe pick up some steam?
Yeah, absolutely. And you got to win. You got to hope you can win the game tomorrow, because the Yankees come to town and the Yankees have owned you for 2 years. So wins will be hard to come by in that series, but they're also not playing great baseball coming in here. So we'll see what ends up happening. We do need to take a break. We'll be right back. We'll talk about the offense and then a little bit going forward right after this.
I'm BJ Kissel, founder and CEO of KC Sports Network. Emprise Bank has been with us from the beginning. They were our first network partner, and they believed in the vision of what we were building from the start. I can't speak to any other banks or companies and how they operate, but I can tell you from personal experience and based on the growth of the network you're listening to right now, that if you have banking needs, call our friends at Emprise Bank. We've worked with so many great people there over the years, from Vicky and Aggie to Andrea, Lori, Jackie, Deb, and Aaron, and not to mention so many others that not just supported KC Sports Network, but supported our KCSN Foundation as well. But the best thing that I know is that if I have a question or a problem, no matter how dumb the question is, I know who I'm going to call and who I'm going to talk to. And I know that I'm getting an answer from someone that I can trust. And I know that person is there to help us. That's why Emprise Bank has always been and continues to be our partner in Possible. And they can be yours too. You just have to reach out. If you have a banking need, whether it's business or personal, hit me up. I will connect you directly with the same people that have helped us build KCSN. And that's our friends at Emprise Bank.
David Starnes Allstate Insurance is a proud partner of KC Sports Network, serving the Kansas City area and all throughout the Midwest. If you are looking for new coverage or something that better suits your home, auto, health, or any of your other insurance needs, give Dave and his team a call. Elevate your coverage and be worry-free with David Starnes Allstate Insurance.
You know that moment, the one when you realize you left your favorite sunglasses at the beach or on the roof of your car or at the gas station 3 states away. Well, I've been there too. But then I found Shady Rays and it changed the game. These sunglasses are made for real life, seriously good-looking, polarized, durable, and not stupidly expensive. And here's the wild part. If you lose them or break them, even on day one, Shady Rays will send you a brand new pair. No guilt trip, just replacements. So now I can actually wear my sunglasses without fear on hikes, at concerts, on the boat, wherever. I was sitting up in the press box watching, seeing the crowd, and the sun was hitting the third and first base side today. It was just right overhead because it was a 3:10 start. A lot of people without sunglasses on. I think they need to get on Shady Rays and help themselves out here for future
Rookie
day
mistake,
games.
man. Rookie mistake.
I know. I saw one guy with a backwards hat doing this number. Like, you could help yourself out here, pal. They have sunglasses for golfing, fishing, hiking, and biking, even sunglasses for kids. Shady Rays is eyewear that has your back. Go to shadyrays.com and use code KCSN for 40% off 2 or more pairs of polarized sunglasses. All right, Nick, let's go to the offensive side of this thing here. And this was one where coming into it as I was driving to the ballpark thinking about kind of maybe the way this game could go and if the Royals would have a chance, that sort of thing. And I remember that George Kirby is on the mound, and he's one of my favorite watches in the league. Regardless, because in an era where walks are up, and some of that is just due to ABS, and we're seeing more and more of that. The guys like Greg Maddux, if they threw 98, like, he is going to paint the corners with all of his stuff. He's gonna be able to dump his breaking balls in for strikes. He's also gonna be able to get chase, but he hates walking people. Like, I think he's only walked 16 guys this year so far. And in his career, like, the K to walk ratio is bonkers. But I was like, as I was thinking about it, that plays almost exactly into the way the Royals want to play the game. They want to put the ball in play. They want to be on the attack. They want to be, they want to be aggressive when guys are in the strike zone. So I'm like, this feels like a weird, like, kind of styles makes fight sort of thing, where this may actually be a good matchup for the Royals because George Kirby's not going to walk people. He's not going to, he's not going to expand the zone too much, especially when he's behind in the count, because he's going to try and get back in and try and strike you out with in-zone stuff. And they kind of blitzed him early in this game with that exact plan. Just if he's in the zone with his fastball, or if he dumps that sweeper into the zone instead of, being a strike to ball pitch, they're going to crush it. And Mike Held sets the tone with a double. Bobby gets an infield single, and then Vinny taps one that, and against any other defense, is probably a double play, but ended up being an error on Crawford for dropping the ball. So you got one run in there on that play alone. And then Carter comes up. He gets the RBI, ends up getting one in. It was great. I think it was bases loaded, no outs at that point. And then Jack singles, which was huge. It was 2 outs in the inning at that point. And I wondered, because some of the stuff with Jack is, and the reason why they're not moving him up in the order is because he's bad with runners in scoring position. He has been most of the year. And for him to come through in that spot, he looked a little more fired up than you would expect with an RBI single in the first inning. And sure, they put up a crooked number, but he was like, yes, you could see it, he was fired up, and they were fired up. And obviously Kolek kind of setting the tone with an 8-pitch first inning, did some of that as well. And then they really didn't do a lot there for a little while, but they just found a way. Carter, he has the ground out, which ended up getting a run. And then he has a sac fly in his next at bat. So 2 productive outs, and they just kept at it. Kirby ended up giving up 9 hits in 6 innings. Isaac Collins came up with a 2-out RBI single, and I was sitting there and I look over at the scoreboard on the Hall of Fame in left field, and it popped up, Isaac Collins, 2 outs, runners in scoring position. He's hitting .333. I was like, well, that's interesting. And then sure enough, he dumps a single in right in front of Julio Rodriguez, and Carter slides in just in front of the tag. That was a huge momentum moment, but he, fingertips of the sliding mitt, get in, hit the corner of the bag right before Paredes tags him. And that was your ball game, but it was just good to see the offense get going. And it felt like George Kirby being a guy that's going to be in and around the zone pretty much all game. you know, and a guy that does have big time strikeout stuff, but he only struck out 3 guys. And obviously he didn't walk anybody because George Kirby doesn't walk people. But the Royals just kept putting the ball in play and kept putting the ball in play and kept putting the ball in play and kind of made their own luck in a way by, if you do it enough, there's going to be enough hits for you out there. And it felt like they were able to capitalize on some of that today.
Yeah, and one of the things that I started thinking about, you mentioned with Jack Caglione having that hit and the celebration early in the game, like it's been highlighted, obviously. I think you've talked about it before. The Royals have been atrocious with runners in scoring position for just collectively for the whole season, right? And you have to think that those guys, as much as you maybe try to block that out or don't pay attention to it, like the guys in the dugout have to be aware of the fact that collectively it's been a struggle when guys are in scoring position. And so to have a young player like that and Jack come through in that moment, that's got to feel like a huge weight lifted off your shoulders when you're able to finally kind of break through that a little bit and make something happen in that situation. So that was kind of my first thought, watching that unfold is like, man, these guys, they have to recognize some of the struggles. And, obviously that's as much physical as it is mental, really, as it continues to pile up. But to see his reaction to me was, I thought, a release of some of that stress of, okay, finally I, made a play with guys in scoring position or with guys on base. And hopefully that allows those guys to take some of that pressure off themselves and maybe play a little bit looser in situations like that, to where they can be in a position to drive in more runs and to create more, offense in those moments, because that's obviously been a huge struggle. I think early this week they were 29th in the league with runners in scoring position. I think what it was. And so, and again, like, I think no matter how hard you try in today's day and age, like as a player, there's no way you don't hear about that. There's no way you don't know that it's been that rough, right? And so to have it go the other way, in this case for Jack early in the game, was pretty huge, because obviously I think time and again this season we've seen those moments for the Royals where they have a chance to get a crooked number maybe early in a game, right? And in this case against a really quality starting pitcher in George Kirby, and then they flub it, it doesn't work out, whatever, you don't get a hit, and that's that, right? So to have that happen early in this game and to have that opportunity and to come through on that opportunity as well was huge, I think, certainly for Jack personally, but hopefully as well for collectively as a team to have that maybe sort of sigh of relief moment of like, okay, everything's fine now. Like we can sort of relieve the pressure a little bit and just go play baseball, right? And go try to do our thing, versus thinking about it so much or having in the back of your mind that, you've been struggling in those moments. So hopefully that helps a little bit. And then obviously, as you mentioned, Isaac Collins, another hit later in the game as well. So that's good to see, because if the Royals can improve in that area, automatically the offense would become significantly better than what it's been, right?
Oh,
just, if they were to improve nowhere else except for with runners in scoring position just a little bit, they would be in a much better position.
Yeah, I mean, they would probably have at least 2 to 3 more wins right now if they were 21st in the league of runners in scoring position. Like, it doesn't even have to be great, but like if you're just at the top of the bottom 10, you're probably in a much different position than 10 games below 500. And the Jack's hit was so funny because he got a change up and it stayed up, but like Jack is so geared up for fastballs, and like the adjustment he has to make is just staying back on some of these pitches and recognizing it out of the hand, which takes time. Like that sort of stuff happens, especially when you're geared up for a fastball. I believe he had count leverage, and but like the funniest thing is just how hard he hits the ball. Like it's insane. Like even in situations where it's like his C swing, because he got a change up, he saw it out of the hand and it kind of like front hipped and then came back. And he's like jelly leg, ass out, and just throws his hands at the ball and hits it 102 on a line. Like it's unbelievable. And I think for that sort of hit to find grass as well is like oh, thank God. Like something finally, because it would be worse or unfortunate, or we'd be frustrated if he hit 110 mile an hour line out right at the right fielder, where it's like, man, you hit the ball in the screws right at the guy, but to still hit a ball on a line when it's probably your C swing, on a pitch that you kind of got fooled on, but still just threw the barrel at and got lucky on, it ended up working out. And they went 3 for 10 with runners in scoring position today. So like he hit 3. I know that sounds bad. Like, 3 for 10. Like they could be better. That's 300. Like the best teams in the league at like 280 with runners in scoring position. So that's about, that's in a pretty good spot. And a couple of those hits were huge. The Collins one was huge because it was with 2 outs and it was 4-0. Now, thankfully, it wasn't like a game in the balance sort of situation, or it may have been a little bit more meaningful, but it extended that lead. And then I believe I'm going to look right after Stephen Kolek threw a shutout inning in the top of the 7th, 1-2-3. So you add to the lead. Kolek shuts it down, and that's it. And it was a walk, double play, and a line out. So there was no damage done. There was nowhere for it to go, and they found a way to get a win. And wins have been really hard to come by for this team in the last week and a half or so. They won, I think, on consecutive Sundays, and then this game. So it's been a little while since this team has really had any sort of consistency, finding ways to win these games. Hopefully, like we talked about, earlier in the episode, that maybe this gives them a little bit of momentum. Just the offense did their job, the defense played their ass off, and Stephen Kolek was awesome. And to win that game and to win in all three phases, to me, I think maybe adds some of that momentum. I think it'd be one thing if you had a game like that Angels game a couple weeks ago where Seth Lugo gets shelled, but the offense picks him up and they end up winning a crazy game. Like, you walked away from that game like, okay, they still have a lot to work on, but like, hey, it's a win. But for this, like, you won the game pitching, defense, hitting with they were all 10-8 rounds, if you want to go with like the boxing analogy. Like, you dominated that game. And they haven't really dominated any game in quite a long time.
By the way, Bobby Witt Jr., fully back.
I think so, man. He hit the ball really well today. He had the one infield single, and I want to go back and touch on this because it just made me think of it. Thank you for bringing up his name, because he manufactured the shit out of a run earlier in that first inning where he hits a little tapper that for 99.8% of players in Major League Baseball, it's an out. And instead it's an infield single for him. And then he ends up getting to second on the fielder's choice. He and Vinny steal third, which also shout out to Vinny. Still never been caught stealing bases in the league. Bobby steals third. Vinny gets the backside of the double steal. You got second and third with Salvi up. And Carter comes up, and it was the unassisted play. So he hits a little like two hopper, like a high hop to Naylor, who ends up getting it. He runs it back, but he turned his back. Why are you turning your back on Bobby Witt Jr. at third base? And Bobby saw that he turned his back, and for a lefty, he was going to have to spin and throw. It wasn't going to happen, and he got home. He used his speed to get the Royals an extra run in that first inning, where, again, not many guys are not fast enough to steal third, which is the hardest base to steal in the league, and then to be able to get home on a ball that doesn't make it out of the infield, that barely made it out of the infield grass on an out. I mean, that was so impressive. Just his baseball acumen and his ability to use all of his tools, it continues to be so impressive. And his defense was awesome today, too. He made a couple of plays where I was like, for 80% of shortstops, that's either an error or they're not getting the out at all. And he made the play and made it look relatively routine. It's pretty unbelievable what he's able to do on a baseball field.
Yeah, he's been remarkable. And like I said, I think he's fully back. Despite the fact that the offense is, ended up scoring 5 runs today, are you still of the mindset of, looking to shuffle the lineup at all? I mean, if Salvi was hitting 4, he was hitting cleanup today.
Salvi was 4th. He was 0 for 4. It wasn't great. I mean, I've been a proponent of this, but I talked about it on the Thursday morning episode. Like, feels like they're just kind of dance with the girl they brought when it comes to that part of the lineup. But also, like, Carter had a good game today for sure. But I don't think you can move him just by moving him up right now. He's still kind of trying to get on the other side of the slump that he had. And then Jack, we talked about it, those runners in scoring position issues, until he like shows over a larger sample that he really is a guy that has that penchant to drive runners in, I don't think you can move him up either. So you'd have to just continue to bank on the hope that Vinny turns this thing around and Salvi's able to turn back the clock every now and then and come up with these big hits. It's just a really tricky spot. But I'm also maybe at a point where, you're 10 games below 500, try something. But it seems like they've kind of figured out a little bit with this order right now against at least against righties. It's a nightmare against left-handed pitching, but like it's been that way for a couple of years. Like, you're not going to feel good about the lineup no matter who is in it when there's a lefty on the mound. But it seems like they've kind of found this mix because they really like having Mike Hill in the leadoff spot. He set the tone today with that double. Bobby, you're going to hit him too no matter what. 3-4, the track record says, in the sample size of their careers, say Vinny and Salvi hit 3-4, but we also have to worry about 2026 as well. And right now, like, I don't know if you can do it, but I also don't think there's anyone else that's ready to jump up and take that and let it ride that way.
Yeah, I kind of look at Salvi similarly on the Chiefs side as how I look at Chris Jones. Where like with Chris Jones for the Chiefs, he's to the point where he can turn back the clock for like a game or a game or two and be dominant.
A couple of drives when he really needs it. Yeah,
exactly. And that's kind of where I think we're getting to the point with Salvi too, where it's like he may occasionally and at bat here and there still be able to step up and look like he did 5 years ago for the Royals, but it's that those moments are becoming fewer and farther between, unfortunately, and that's just the reality of life. I mean, that's just the reality of Father Time, right? And I think for the Royals right now, like, would you love to have one of your younger guys maybe step up and be in that position, and maybe even if you relieve some of that pressure off Salvi and put him somewhere else, maybe that helps him become a little bit more consistent too. But I don't know that you're quite. I don't know that you're quite to a position like you mentioned, Joel. Like, I don't know that you're quite there with where you can just comfortably put Jack there or comfortably put. It hasn't, though, that other part that hasn't quite come to fruition in that way yet. But it feels like it's got to be a move they need to consider making, especially if some of those younger guys are able to become a little bit more consistent, because again, it may end up turning into a win-win. It may help out everybody across the board, where Salvi's in a lower pressure situation, which allows him to maybe do a little bit better. And then also you've got the younger guys that are able to hit in that spot. So I'm kind of with you where it's like right now, like, can you really feel comfortable doing it? Probably not, but I feel like it's a move you have to start considering the longer we get into the season, especially if some of those guys start to step up and have more hits with runners on base.
Yeah, the way you may be able to do it, and it's tricky because I know they want Michael to lead off. Michael wants to lead off, but like a guy like Isaac Collins could probably lead off for you because he's even though the back of the baseball card, people are going to be batting average and go, I don't want someone hitting 210 in the leadoff spot. But he's going to get on base around 330. And he's walking 12% of the time. So he's still got an ability to get on base, even if the batted ball results have not been there for him consistently this year. So you still have that ability, and he does hit the ball hard. So maybe he sees more pitches with Bobby Witt Jr., behind him. There's a little bit of protection there that may elevate things a little bit. Then you can move Michael to 3, and then that kind of bumps everyone else down. And then you can get Salvi 5, or you can go Carter, hit 5, and then Salvi 6, Jackson, however you want to couch it. But that may be the way to do it. But I don't know if they want to move Michael out of the leadoff spot right now. Like, it's not like it demands a move, like moving Michael out of the leadoff spot. Like, it's not on the list of things that the Royals need to change. That's like 8th or 9th on the list. Like, there's very few things because he's still had a pretty good year, even if he's maybe not like to the height of that he was last year. And some of that was he was around with more runners in scoring position, hitting 4th for most of the year as kind of an unorthodox 4 hitter. But now they like him in that leadoff spot, and he's done a pretty good job with it. But it may necessitate a move if they really feel like, okay, we have reached the end. The law of diminishing returns has reached its peak. We have got to find a way to get Salvi out of the 4 spot. That may be the way to do it rather than just inserting Kaggs or Jensen into that 3-4 spot.
Well, and I think you'd hate for that to, like, you'd hate for the reason why the offense doesn't get going to be that you stuck it out, I guess, too long in this way, right?
Absolutely. Because it's a really tricky spot.
Right. And I think it's what adds to this all these different levels of the situation is like I don't think you would feel the same way if the rest of the AL wasn't so bad to where know that you still have a chance to get back into it. Right. So you want to still be aggressive and potentially have still, make those moves and potentially set yourself up to be successful. But it's like also you've struggled, obviously, but the rest of the AL's bad. So like, how does that work out? You don't want your season to be over before Memorial Day. So like it's the whole thing is it's a tricky situation that I don't envy the Royals where they're at right now.
No, not at all. Say game tomorrow, 1:10 first pitch. Royals going for the series against the Mariners. They've clinched the season series against the Mariners by winning this game today, 4-1 right now. Chance to go 5-1 against the Seattle Mariners on the season. Tomorrow it'll be Seth Lugo against Brian Wu. two very different pitchers in that Brian Wu is going to throw his fastball and then throw his fastball again and again and again and again, and he does not care that it's coming. And Seth Lugo was going to throw 85 different pitches at you, and he's going to throw it. He's going to throw 95 pitches in the game. So it's going to be really interesting. Two very, very different ways to handle the art on the mound from 60 feet 6 inches away. But we'll see what they got. And again, it's another righty on the mound, so you're very likely going to see the same lineup that they rolled out today, tomorrow. And with Carter catching today, maybe Salvi can catch, day game after a night game, probably, or I guess midday game, but still may, have an opportunity that Salvi can catch Lugo, where there's some, rapport there. Carter has caught Lugo a couple of times and the results have not been great. So this may be a scenario where we see that. Before we get out of here, let's do our toast game brought to you by Holiday Distillery. And I think there is one very clear answer for this particular honor that Stephen Kolek.
Who could it be?
Awesome.
Who could it be?
Stephen Kolek was unbelievable today. It's a complete game shutout. He was awesome. And I don't think there's much more we need to say. We spent a good 10, 15 minutes on this show talking about it, but absolutely awesome game from Stephen Kolek.
Yeah, he was fantastic. And again, it was the thing I could thinking about was just the fact that he was that good despite the fact that he didn't have a strikeout until I think the 8th inning, which is crazy. So really, really impressive stuff from him, and absolutely he deserves the holiday toast of the game. If you were going to go with him, I would say Bobby Wood Jr. So that would be my other pick if you couldn't go with Stephen Kolek, but obviously with the performance that he had, certainly he deserves more than one potentially holiday toast.
Yep, I think, there's no doubt. And I will shout out Bobby for that first inning by being able to manufacture that run with some elite defense as well. Deserves a shout, but Stephen Kolek definitely deserves the full toast game honor there. That's going to do it here from Kauffman Stadium. I am very excited to be able to get home and dip into some Holiday Distillery soft red wheat when I get home and celebrate today and enjoy my evening. Nick, thanks for hopping on with me. Be back tomorrow. Probably 20 to 30 minutes after the final out at Kauffman Stadium, depending on how the post-game stuff goes. I will be here. That's going to do it again. Like, rate, subscribe, review on the audio side. Listen to this later. Appreciate you guys. Leave a 5-star review. Helps more people see this show. We're going to get out of here, and we'll talk to you tomorrow. Have a great one, y'all.